What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another movie review. Today we are talking about 2024's Godzilla Kong, The New Empire. Or maybe it's Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Either way, directed by Adam Wingard. And it's a fun movie, man. I had a good time in theaters. This is now the fourth movie I've seen in theaters. Technically, third movie, fourth time being to the theaters this year. I've seen Dune 2 twice in theaters. And then my first one I saw in theaters was back in February on Valentine's Day for Madame Web. So, I've at least gone up in my movies so far, because Madame Web was a tough way to start the theatrical run of the year, and then seeing Dune twice was awesome, and now seeing Kong and Godzilla in this movie, very fun. It was a good time. I do love the poster, you know, with Scar King's eyes in the background, the orange chimpanzee, you know, and they do explain why Godzilla becomes pink and super powerful. They do explain why Kong has a metal tooth and this Thanos Infinity Gauntlet on. So I do like it, but a couple of gripes that I had would be just with the writing, or the lack of it, because all of the writing that is in this movie is just like, it felt like the bare minimum amount of writing, which I liked and didn't like. You know, there was parts where I was like, oh, I wish they could explain this more. I wish there was more lore into the Godzillas, more lore into the Kongs and the people, and like how the people in the Kongs react. Instead, it was kind of just mostly about the big giant kaijus, which, you know, is really all this movie needed to be. It was just a giant fight of giant CGI creatures. And one critique I heard online, I didn't notice it. It didn't take me out of the movie, at least when I was in the movie. But after the fact, once I heard him say it, I was like, oh shit, he might be right. And one of the critiques I heard was, every time the humans are on screen versus Kong and Godzilla, it looks like two different movies, right? Like, the humans look like they're in one completely different place, and Godzilla and Kong look like they're in a completely other place, which for most of the movie they are, and then all of a sudden they come to the same place that Godzilla and Kong and the people are, down in Hollow Earth. But that's minor, you know, because I didn't really notice it too much watching it. But my biggest problem with this movie was the theater I was in, right? Like, I went to a 12:45 showing on a Saturday morning. It was about a half to three-quarters full theater, and like right in front of me there was a dad and his son, and there was like epic stuff happening, like Godzilla suplexing Kong, you know, and like straight up WWE style moves. And I had just been watching WWE recently. I'm not a huge WWE guy, but I was when I was a kid. So now, like, the recent stuff with The Rock and stuff have been getting me back into it. But then watching a movie like this made me just lose my mind. Like, and if it was like a opening night, fully packed theater of fans, this movie probably would have been awesome in the theaters, because people would have probably been reacting and stuff. But I can't wait to watch this movie again at home, because I'll be able to react the way my body wanted to react. Like, when he put him in the suplex and all of a sudden put him up and then slammed his ass onto a pyramid, I was like, oh! When I looked around and no one was reacting, I was like, that was a suplex, man. No one's gonna react to the suplex? Like, oh, God. But I will say, it's crazy how far we've come with CGI and that visual effects technology, because these two giant monsters look pretty damn flawless throughout the entire movie. The fact that you're able to have an entire theatrical movie, almost 2 hours long, and most of the scenes be with these giant CGI creatures, and it works, you know, and like visually it works. That's pretty damn impressive, you know. Like, I'll tip my caps to the visual effects artists, you know, a little tip of the cap to you. I would say, just maybe some more lore, you know, in the next one. Like, this one, I think I wanted to be that giant kaiju battle versus other kaijus, and it was awesome, and I had fun. But in the next one, if it's exactly like this, I don't know if I would like it, you know. Like, the next one, whatever it is, whether it's Kong-focused or Godzilla-focused, it needs to be more like the 2014 Godzilla from Gareth Edwards, or the 2017 Kong Skull Island, where you're focusing more on the people. Yeah, and there is parts where you're focused on Kong and what he's dealing with. But, like, most of the parts of that movie I love are Sam L. Jackson, are Brie Larson, are Tom Hiddleston. You know what I mean? Like those character moments. John C. Reilly's character. That dude that friggin' puts out the grenades and then gets tail whipped into a wall. Like, there's certain parts that I'm like, it's just so memorable, those characters. With this, I'm just like thinking about this movie, and there's no like real character moments of people that I remember. Just moments of Kong being funny with Baby Kong. And apparently he has, that Baby Kong has a name. I didn't hear anyone call that Baby Kong a name, but he's like Soku or something like that. To me, he's just the orange little fucker. Because at first I was like, Baby Kong, is this like Kong's child? And he's not related, but he certainly takes him underneath his wing. Because at first he reached out his hand, and Kong's being nice, and you know, he's like, "Come on, man, we can be buddies. I'll help you." And he bites Kong's finger, so Kong goes, "Screw you, little monkey boy," and like goes to attack him, and bigger monkeys attack Kong, and because Kong's the king and he's biggest, he kicks their ass pretty much no problem, and then uses the Baby Kong as a weapon to kick their ass. I was dying at this movie. There were certain parts had me crying laughing, and no one in my theater reacted. And I was like, you guys are a bunch of duds. Screw you. I came here to have fun, and all of you are just being silent. They just watched the movie like they couldn't react. I was like, come on, we can do it. But I didn't see this movie in IMAX, but this poster was pretty badass. Filmed for IMAX, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, coming out March 29th. It is now April 1st when I'm filming this. But you see big, giant Godzilla back there with his pink spikes. Cool. And then you see Kong. Yeah, baby. I like the metal arm. I did, you know, spoilers. This part in the trailers, they did a great job hiding this. This part in the trailers, no one mentioned this. I didn't hear anyone talking about this. I still haven't seen spoiler picture for it after the fact. But these two roaring right here, looking upwards towards the sun, and there's this awkward space in the middle. In the space in the middle in the movie is Mothra, Queen of the Monsters, Mothra. And I was like, oh, fucking cool. I didn't realize Mothra was going to be in this, and we knew pretty much everything that was happening in this movie. But I heard nobody say that Mothra was going to be in this. And I thought that was awesome, you know, because I was like, wow, they in this modern day and age with technology and the way that social media is, it's hard to have surprises in a movie, and that genuinely surprised me. I was like, oh, cool. Mothra's in this to also help, and Godzilla and Kong become friends because Mothra said, hey, stop fighting, it's time to go fight these other two assholes, the Orange Scar King, this bastard here, which he is kind of frightening, but also I was like, he's a pussy, don't worry about him, Kong's got him. But then he kind of beats Kong, but he's got this like banderola made of bones, and then he's got like a blue blade on the end that controls Shimu. I think that's her name. I think she's a she. Sorry, I didn't mean to gender you, giant lizard, Godzilla woman thing. But he, like, controls her. But I wanted to know, like, how that blue crystal got onto the banderola. Did he take that off of her body, and it's one of her crystals that's, whenever he uses it, it hurts her? Or is it just a crystal of one of her creatures? But they also made it sound like she was the biggest kaiju of them all because they were riding her like a horse. But they never really got the sense of scale, right? Like Godzilla and Kong are supposed to be even bigger in this movie than they were in Godzilla vs. Kong. But that sense of scale we never really got like good examples of, you know what I mean? Maybe with like the pyramids of Giza and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, we never got like a real size thing because we're just shooting them like they're people instead of shooting them from people sized, you know, and we're looking up at them. That's where you get like the size, you know, and you get the scale. That was one of the things I didn't like in this movie. There was no real sense of scale when you were with the monsters, like, and how big they really are. Like, I wish Shimu got a chance to stand up on her back legs and just show us how much bigger she is than Godzilla and Kong and the other guy, you know? But he had her all chained up and shit. I was all sad about that. But here's a picture of Baby Kong. The first time he looks at Kong and he bites his finger. And then later in the movie, Kong's in trouble and he's setting traps for the bad guys. And you see how Kong's kind of evolved and he's setting traps for his enemies. And he knows that everyone's going to be attacking him because he's the king. People want that spot. But Baby Kong is now with King Kong, and he wants to be the son of Kong, and he's like, that's my friend, he protected me, I'm going to protect him, and he pushes the boulder for him, and then he goes and, like, puts Kong's big-ass arm around him and goes, I got you, buddy, come on. But apparently Baby Kong here is, like, 100 feet tall, but he looks like a little child compared to King Kong, you know? So how big is Kong now? If, like, the first time we saw Kong at Skull Island, he was supposed to be the same height as Baby Kong here, but our Kong didn't look like Baby Kong, right? Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, the anatomy and what's not. But this also is not a gorilla, right? Like, Kong is based off gorillas, and these chimps are based off of chimpanzees, right? Which chimps are way more aggressive, smaller, you know, longer arms, I think, less muscular, but better for, like, swinging and stuff like that. But Godzilla, or King Kong is a fucking gorilla, you know, like, you know, like, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but I really enjoyed this movie. And then the final, like, one of the final scenes, Godzilla lays down in the Coliseum again for a little cat nap. Like, he's literally just a giant cat. He just curled up in his little bed, and his bed's the Coliseum. Like, what? Okay, let's go for it, I guess. But overall, I gave this movie 3.5 stars, about a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I had a good time in theaters, and I honestly, it's been in my mind ever since I saw it on Saturday. So for me, I'm like, yeah, it's only been a couple days, but I want to see this movie again. I want to see it at home where I can really react to it like the way I wanted to and not feel embarrassed because nobody else in my theater is reacting. Like, come on. At least I don't have the problem with people talking or texting in my theaters. No disrespectful people, but just dud people. Like, come on, people. Go to the theaters to have some fun. But that's it for me. Stay tuned for another movie review tomorrow. We got the new 2024 Roadhouse movie coming out on the channel, and talking all about that. Jake Gyllenhaal, Conor McGregor, and which Roadhouse is better, Patrick Swayze's or the new one. We'll talk about it all in the next video. Stay tuned, and I will see you guys then. Peace.